So a couple of days ago, Asmongold reacted to a video called "AAA Gaming is in Big Trouble," and yeah, water's wet and the sun sets in the west. However, video aside, we all know this to be the truth. I mean, a lot of us have been talking about it for about a decade now, and he spent this 30-minute video, a solid 2 to 3 minutes, talking about the social, political, and ideological angle that so many of us have been talking about for the last 10 years or so, and he hits the nail fairly well on the head, but I think there's a little bit more to it that A, he's missing, and also B, is the inconvenient truth that the games journalists and games media don't want you to know about or don't want you to think about. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and we're going to get into this video from Asmongold. We're not going to be reacting to the full, almost 30-minute video, just the 2 to 3 minutes here around the 10 to 13 minute mark, which is, again, I think incredibly important. A lot of what Asmongold says is hit the nail on the head. However, I feel like it needs to be expounded upon, and also getting the message out to even more people who may not see his content or might see mine but not his. Just spreading the word ever further is always the best route we can go. So we're going to get into this, hit that button, and here we go.
Writing and storytelling for the sake is a risk. You have to include modern politics to be safe. Well, this is another really big problem, is that a lot of Western studios, I don't think that Western studios right now have the trust of the player base. And this is
boom, Riley, don't have the trust of the player base. Yes, you're exactly correct. I mean, think about the fact that how many studios have had layoffs or full-on closures as of late. I mean, Warner Bros. is thinking about stepping away from making video games because Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League failed so hard. It is catastrophic how bad that game was going to fail. And what were all the fans saying prior to the game fail? Yeah, the game's gonna fail. Like, you've got a target audience here. You got a target market. People that have been dutifully paying for video games for years upon years. And you make something that the vast majority of them don't want, whether it be DC fans, gamers in general, a hybrid of the both. And you're seeing this all over. I mean, Volition shut down, Tango Gameworks, Xbox shut down how many studios? Because at least the Western developers, like Asmongold specifically pointing out, do not have your best trust, do not have the trust right now of the player base, of the consumers. So yeah, right, it's a very obvious statement, but for whatever reason, people, non-real gamers, people in the industry, game journalists, even other Western companies want to act like this is not a thing, when it's so simple to just listen to your customers.
a huge issue that a lot of developers, or sorry, not developers, journalists don't want to talk about.
He says it right there. The journalists don't want to talk about that. But the reason journalists don't want to talk about it is because they know the truth. They know that we are correct, but they cannot give us credence. They cannot say, the Alyssa Mercantes of the world, the Carolyn Petits, the Jason Schreiers, they cannot say these dudes who make videos on the internet talking about how the woke mind virus is killing gaming. They can't give us credit because it goes against their entire ideology. The thing is, we are, in fact, correct. With the way AAA gaming, with the money that is being funneled into and lost in AAA gaming as of late, at least when it comes to, games coming out of the West as of late, yeah, it would be very easy for them to course correct and say, hey, you know what, let's stop pushing an agenda, let's stop pushing politics in all of our articles, let's go ahead and actually make this about games. But that is what makes this a culture war. They don't actually care about gaming, and unfortunately Asmongold doesn't actually bring that up. He is correct in that this is an inconvenient truth that the game journalists won't touch, but he misses the fact that they are not only do they not want to touch it, they are pushing back and saying it is not true. They are trying to say that myself and Hypnotic and Smash JT, and even Asmongold himself, I mean, when all the Sweet Baby Inc. Gamergate stuff first started, he was public enemy numero uno, so I can't say that he's trying to just play nice and, placate his base, because that's not really what Asmongold does. He genuinely does do a good job of articulating his thoughts in a very who gives a fuck manner. He says what he wants to say, he says what he has to say, and doesn't usually mince words about it. So when he says that it's a disconnect towards these game journalists, I can't imagine why he would call it a disconnect as opposed to just outright saying the truth of they are actively going against the truth because it doesn't fit their narrative. They want to convince people. They want to convince the regular everyday Joe, because they know real gamers are not going to buy into this shit. It's so much easier to call real gamers racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic, yada yada yada, because we're easy targets. You know, we all tend to look the same. A lot of us are straight white dudes, even though that's not actually the case whatsoever. But if you believe the caricature they paint of you, then yes, that's what they would have to say. So it's very strange to me that he just calls it an inconvenient truth. But he does go on to making good points. It's just, man, Asmongold, you had a moment, you had a chance where you could have said something, you know, actually profound about how they are going out of their way to try and change the narrative to non-gamers, change the narrative of the culture war to the global audience, change the narrative for those that are still stuck on mainstream media, and to an audience the size of yours. I honestly kind of feel like you blew it with such a blasé, you know, lackadaisical answer here.
Because it's not convenient for them and it's not part of the message, but it's huge. People, like today, for example, there were so many games that had like a female protagonist, and people just immediately wrote the game off as woke bullshit. That's just what happened. And like at the end of the day,
And why did gamers do that? Why did video games that just start a female protagonist get written off as woke bullshit? Because for the last 10 years, we have been fed video games with female characters that have been woke bullshit. Now, first of all, I'm going to clarify. I'm going to say, because I've gone on record as saying I thought that South of Midnight actually looked pretty damn good. Not only is that a video game with a female character, that's a video game with a black female character. But Leon, how could you be excited for that? I thought you were a racist, misogynistic, homophobic white guy who only wants to see straight white men in games. Yeah, no, believe it or not, I'm down for all sorts of different types of individuals and people of color and whatever in my games, so long as the game looks good and looks like it was there with actual intent. Like they actually care about, hey, this is going to be important to the story, to the setting. The game takes place in what looks to be dirty down South Louisiana. I don't know about you guys, I've been to down South Louisiana quite a few times. There's a lot of black people there. So, yeah, setting a game there and having the character be a black female, I got no problems with it. Now, that being said, before you all get up in my comment section, I know Sweet Baby Inc. is involved in the game. Because of that, I'm still not going to be playing it or buying it. Maybe Game Pass, when it comes to Game Pass, I'll give it a shot then, just so I can say I tried it. But no money is coming out of my pocket into that game. But the fact of the matter is, I cannot deny it looks like an interesting game. There are going to be a lot of individuals that do completely write the game off as woke trash. Why? Because they've been trained to do that. It's a Pavlovian response because of the last 10 years, the last decade of utter trash we've been getting in video games. When Mary Jane Watson comes out in Spider-Man 2 and has the jaw of a UFC fighter, the intentional uglification of women, don't get me started on the Perfect Dark trailer. Yes, people are going to be pushing back against this, even for games where it might actually be fitting to have a quote-unquote strong female character in the lead. You did this to yourselves, the game journalists, the gaming industry. If you're so upset that these gamers are no longer wanting to play these games, if you're going to have your studios go under because people aren't buying them, it's because you created this yourself by trying to manufacture some sort of diversity that wasn't needed in the first place, because diversity was always there. You made a fake problem, people caught wind of it, and over the last 10 years have been voting with their wallets. They've stopped playing video games, and look where you're at now. Everyone's going indie or Eastern or both, and you're just out there on your ass. I don't know what to tell you.
You can call those people racist, sexist,
been called that,
wrong,
been called that,
bigots, or whatever. But at the end of the day, if there's enough of them and they're not buying your game, you're going out of business. Like, that's it. And I think the real problem of
here's the question. Here's the question I pose to all of you guys. Because again, a lot of you, my core audience, none of this is anything particularly new to you so far. I cover this sort of stuff all the time. But you know, you never know when this will be somebody's first foray into this culture war. You know, new people get recruited all the time. For those of you that are being recruited, welcome to the Vital Idols and offshoot of the Bigot Army. We appreciate you showing up. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, what is more likely that the world is just full of all these bigots, that there's enough bigots in the entire gaming space that can tank studios, that if there's literally millions upon millions of racist, homophobic bigots out there, or is it more likely that your game just sucked and normal people saw through the facade of what you were putting through, and they didn't buy the game because they don't want to be pandered to? Like which one is more likely in a world where we have all been brought up, watching black people on TV, or watching women be elected to be senators or anything like that, in a world full of diversity? We grew up seeing that anyone could do anything. We've had it pounded into our heads since elementary school that you can be anything you want to be. For those that grew up in that world like your boy did, what's more likely? Millions upon millions of bigots? Or your game just sucked? It really is that simple. Yeah, people aren't buying your stuff not because, oh, they're homophobic and they're racist. No, they're not buying it because they know that it's cheap pandering bullshit. And they don't want to pay $70 for that when they can go get a video game from Capcom or something, or any other Eastern company, Nintendo, that's actually just going to care about the game itself.
Of what happened is that Western developers have completely lost the trust of the audience. They've completely lost the trust of the individual player, that the actual developer will tell a story that is authentic and true to a core belief that they have.
And that's why I want to take this back to South of Midnight. Again, I know y'all are going to hate me for saying it because I'm not staying in the anti-woke mold by having this opinion. But again, a game that takes place in dirty down South Louisiana, having a strong black female character, I think that there's probably some genuineness in terms of the story that wants to be told. I think that is probably the case. Now, does Street Baby Inc. come in, mess stuff up, rewrite some stuff, and make it... Yeah, that's entirely possible. That's 100% entirely possible. But the initial idea of South of Midnight, I think, did come at place of individuals being genuine and having a new original idea for a story that they want to tell. There's not going to be any way of knowing until the game comes out, till we found out more of its history, stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to the loss of trust in the system, yeah, Asmongold is 100% right. Anytime we see a new AAA game released, what do people do? They roll their eyes, they groan, and think, oh, look, yeah, awesome. And not always just about political or ideological stuff. Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, people aren't only throwing a fit because Black Samurai or, oh, woman in Star Wars. No, they're throwing a fit because these games are priced at $130 fucking dollars, and they look like they belong on a PlayStation 3. Like, all I'm saying is, no wonder that there's trust loss in the industry. You've spent the last decade tearing down your biggest, the biggest fan base that actually pays your bills, and you're having studio closures the world over, and then you want to blame it all on people being upset at diversity. Let's get real.
And instead, this message is being sent to them or being given to them in a way that is patronizing, inauthentic, or ham-fisted in a way that the company doesn't like. So basically, Western developers, like Eastern developers, do the exact same thing in a lot of cases, right? Like Final Fantasy 16 literally didn't sell in places in the Middle East because they required them to take out the gay relationship in the game, which plays a core role to the game. And, I think Dion is probably one of the most well-liked characters inside of Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, we didn't see Insomniac do that with Spider-Man. No, not at all. In fact, if you bought Spider-Man 2 in America, you had all these NPCs being like male NPCs saying, hey, Spidey, my boyfriend loves you. And there was all these pride flags and shit like that. Then you go buy the game in the Middle East. Oh, no, totally different ball game over there. That game was straight as fuck in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, you know what? At least Square Enix. And Square Enix has been infected by the woke DEI, ESG mind virus as well. They've been taking money from BlackRock and Raytheon. They absolutely have taken ESG dollars. They proudly flaunt it on their website. But at least Square Enix had the balls to stick to their guns and be like, no, we're not changing our game. If you guys over there hate homos, if you guys in Saudi Arabia or Iran or Iraq don't like it when penises go in buttholes, then fuck it, you're just not going to get our game. So I'll respect this shit out of them for actually at least sticking to their art instead of trying to pander to whoever they think cares about whatever social issue of the week is on a country-by-country basis.
So they didn't take that. They didn't take that out, and so it's not being sold there, and which is fine, right? That is what it is. But nobody criticized them and said it was woke or DEI or anything like that. And the reason why is because the trust is there that Square Enix and Creative Business Unit 3, most creative name ever, are telling a story that is a story that they want to tell and that is authentic. So it's not even, the problem is not even representation or any sort of LGBT or women or anything like that. The problem is with trust and authenticity. And right now, Western developers as a collective do not have the trust of a huge amount of gamers.
And that huge amount of gamers are the ones that were keeping the industry afloat. You might not like it. You might not want to admit it. You may loathe to accept it. But let's be real. The target demographic is straight dudes. They're the vast, vast majority of your player base. That's what it is. They're the ones that buy the games day one. They're the ones that tell their friends to buy the games so they can all get together and play over their mics and talk about how, frag grenade in the next room, everybody get down. That's your target audience. So when you decide to start trying to alienate them and build up this mythical modern audience that doesn't exist because you feel like people on the internet, specifically on Twitter and Tumblr, which aren't real places, by the way, are throwing a fit, people that weren't going to spend the money on your game anyway because they don't have jobs, you only got yourself to blame. Call your boy a bigot all you want, call me all those rude, nasty names, I will live in your head rent-free. So many of us will live in your head rent-free, and it's a good thing it's rent-free because you're not going to be able to pay for it because you will have no job. It's that simple.
And whether you want to pretend like these people don't exist or not, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, if you bring out a game like that and it doesn't sell, you're going to be out on your ass with a box trying to make a Twitter post to get a bunch of likes to make people feel sorry for you because you just got laid off.
I think we're going to end it right there. He couldn't have said it better. That's why I don't give a damn when these studios have closures. When you see all these game journalists writing up their op-eds and their articles, oh, a moment to shed a tear for all the studios that we have lost. No, fuck them. If they were good at what they did in 99% of instances, they would still be around. Now, there are some times where there's the exception, not the rule. I think Tango Gameworks was the exception, not the rule, and Microsoft shafted them. But in most instances, yeah, they weren't making the money to justify being open as a studio. And why weren't they making that money? Because they were making these pandering games that nobody bought, that nobody cared about, while trying to blame gamers and calling them all these names for, again, for fake diversity purposes, when in all reality, we have never cared about diversity in games. In fact, the vast majority of games have always been diverse. So yeah, this is all on you. And when you've got somebody like Asmongold, who again has one of the largest followings in the video game space on the internet, very politely calling out the issue, and you've still got your Alyssa Mercantes and your Carolyn Petits out there trying their damnedest to say, oh, it's just these right-wing trolls. Well, look, if it really is a bunch of right-wing trolls, then you guys may as well pack it in and go home, because clearly there's more of them than there are of you guys, so what do you think you can do? I mean, at this point, it'd be a war of attrition, strength in numbers sort of thing, and clearly that side has more numbers, if that side existed, but that's not even what it really is. It's not like all the MAGA people decided to get together and start playing Call of Duty. No, these are just normal people who want normal things, and maybe, just maybe, they're not as fucking stupid as you think they are. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about the video game scene or Asmongold or anything like that, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos that I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course, get involved in the discourse with all the other vital idols. It is a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to build even further, because we do value and care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity, the diversity of thought. So I'd love to have you in the Discord, subscribe, and until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.